Islam, love is the degree, unity is the degree, the circle, 360 degrees, that which was, is, and evermore shall be, the complete cycle of universal process, creating, preserving, destroying, or transforming the entire sweep of time, human history, the cycle of evolution and involution, men and their cycles of experience, the rise and fall of nations, the injustices and the tenderness of life experience as expressed through the bird, the bee, and the man, and the angel, and the cherubim. The great multiplicity of nature in all of its wide and paradoxical expression, bound fast as one, harmonized by one law, one creed of justice, existing in one web, in one harmonious clock, the manifestation, the creation, the effulgence, coming from one central point, coming from the ineffable imperfection and returning imperfection. Coming to earth, we look at men in their cycles of experience. We see nation war against nation, injustice, which breeds ill will, which breeds the cycle of retribution, governed by the planet, the principle, Saturn, cause and effect. But the kingdom, the promised land, peace on earth, goodwill to men, a holy creed of righteousness that can make the divided populace once more be bound fast as one. Many have heard the tale of the 12 tribes of Jacob Yaqub and the division that was brought about among the human populace, who were previously of one spirit, of one mind state, who fell from grace through iniquity and sin, and falling further into carnal consciousness to a point where there was a manifestation of a new wave of humanity, the present state of national affairs, in the separation of nation, the separation of bloodline, which is a further working out of the principle of differentiation within the one causal principle, differentiating into the different rays and colors of the spectrum of creation, one law transforming into many laws, one energy transforming into many energies, many different souls, one human principle manifesting as different human principles, the splitting of the atoms, as it were, and the splitting of the one human bloodline into different nations. And when there is the illusion of division, then there is a manifestation of inharmony, which is only the imperfect evolving into perfection. And this is the case now. And so we speak of the higher self and the lower self. The higher self, which is pure love and righteousness, and the lower self, which is basically a veil of darkness that is drawn over the eyes of the spirit so it sleeps, thus manifesting imperfection and unrighteousness, hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms, thus bringing about division, because the lower self is also the sense of separation, the lie of separation, that any atom of creation is separate from any other atom of creation, or that an individual can live in isolation in that the harm that it brings about on another is not also brought about on itself, because we are actually one. But as you rise above the lower self into that exalted plane of thought, the higher self, which is the pure love or the consciousness of the unity of life, and the beast, the fish, the fowl look upon you, the higher self, and say, what exalted form is this? That is a rending of the veil between the individual consciousness as expressed through your five-limbed frame, your human flesh frame, and the spiritual, ethereal, divine, immutable self that is passing through the realm of flesh, that is united with the highest, that is from the spirit plane, where all is love and unity. And the only thing that can make them one is love. But first, before they can be fit to receive the pure divine love energy, which is an energy, a force, not magnetism, electromagnetism, although it manifests through the phase of electromagnetism, and it manifests through the energy of the constellations and the signs of the zodiac and the planets, but not that itself. But the love energy or the light energy is actually the will of Allah, or the seed cast forth into the fertile ethers that grows apace. In that growth process, the full life cycle of experience, the cycle of involution and evolution, is the breathing of one principle, and that decree is always love and righteousness. Although when it falls to the lowest ethers, then it starts to manifest in imperfection, which is just the imperfection before the perfection, as the master builder, the exalted form, uses his workshop tools to perfect and sculpt his character and the temple pyramid that is life itself. Cosmic life is actually the building or the temple of Solomon that needs to be rebuilt by all the workmen, whatever their degree of skill and expertise, and to rise to a higher degree of competence and thus earn better wages in the school and in the workshop of life. You must rise in your qualifications. You must be well educated in the ways of the Spirit. And now a reading. Remembering that phrase, what can make them one but love? What can make them see and truly understand but love? From chapter 4 of the Silent Brotherhood of the East. One morning after service in the temple, Yeshua, as he sat in silent thought, the rabbi said to Yeshua, which is the greatest of the 10 commands? And Yeshua said, I do not see the greatest of the 10 commands. I see a gold cord that runs through all the 10 commands, that binds them fast and makes them one. This cord is love, and it belongs to every word of all the 10 commands. If one is full of love, he can do nothing else but worship Allah, for Allah is love. If one is full of love, he cannot kill, he cannot falsely testify, he cannot covet, he can do naught but honor Allah and man. If one is full of love, he does not need commands of any kind. I, self-law, am master. Allah is all life. The principle that sends forth the ray of life to grow apace through the womb of time, throughout infinite cycles of evolution, growing from unformed, undifferentiated matter into the full perfection of spirit life. It is the principle that sends forth that ray of life to grow apace through all the different forms, from the creeping critter to the highest, most divine human form. And it is also that life force that grows through critter and man back into union with its own mystical principle. And thus you understand the polarity and the beauty and the divine paradox that can only be reconciled by love. And when we speak of the 10 Commands, we speak of the 10 Sephirotic spheres of the holy tree of life. And each of those 10 spheres has a certain characteristic influence, or it represents a principle of the divine and the law of the divine. And those are commands because man himself, being himself a tree of life by the laws of correspondence, has those 10 spheres within himself, and they make up the completed body of perfected man once illuminated like the Christmas light, from whence it derives its symbolism. And the light that flows through those 10 Sephirotic spheres, through those 10 principles, is actually love. And so the golden cord that runs through all of those 10 commandments and through those 10 manifestations of the divine one, Allah, is love. That energy is love. And when you put yourself in tune with love on any plane of life, as above, so below, then you actually light the flaming torch of your nervous system, of your spiritual being, and of the all of life, for there is no separation. You cannot illuminate yourself without also shining light in every area of your own life. And once you're full of that love, you don't need the commands, because the spirit that moves through you knows the full truth. And it's all contained within that love. All comes from the love. And Rabbi Barakia said, "Your words are seasoned with the salt of wisdom that is from above. Who is the teacher who has opened up this truth to you?" And Yeshua said, "I do not know any teacher opened up this truth for me. It seems to me that truth was never shut, that it was always opened up. For truth is one, and it is everywhere. And if we open up the windows of our minds, the truth will enter in and make herself at home. For truth can find her way through any crevice, any window, any open door." The rabbi said, "What hand is strong enough to open up the windows and the doors of our minds so truth can enter in?" And Yeshua said, "It seems to me that love, the golden cord that binds the 10 commands in one, is strong enough to open any human door so that truth can enter in and cause the heart to understand." Peace. Love is the answer. Not a superficial love, but the causal or the consequence of demonstrating love. The righteous actions, thoughts, and emotions that you will automatically produce by moving in a spirit of love, by spending that extra 15, 30 minutes a day praying and meditating on that love, in courting that energy, courting that presence that you will be able to manifest through your concentration into the realization of the kingdom on earth in your personal life and throughout society. And I want to speak on American society. North, Central, and South America is North, Central, and South Amexem, the ancestral land and home of the ancient Moabite Empire. And at present, the Moorish Empire is under the guise and under the form and cloak of the United States of America. And the United States of America is not an institution that is built on the 5 principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is not an institution that is at present operating under the will of the higher self. It is not trusting in God, but a God of its own creation, which is a system or set of rules of operation enforced by the point of the sword. And so, it is under the jurisdiction at present of the lower self, which breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. And this thought energy, this demon god, which is fed by the imagination and the concentrated thought energy and the buy-in, the verbal and non-verbal agreement of 300 million plus sleepers, the thought energy of that falsity, of that false construct, United States of America, the thought bubble of all those people who don't know the origin of this nation and have been educated to not operate as one unit, not under the principle of divine immutable love. It is sick and ailing. And so that thought form, like in the movie They Lived or in the movie Fallen, the spirit travels through the bodies of all these people. But because it's the lower self spirit, then their energy is reflected at inexact angles, squares, and oppositions. And so it needs to be bound fast and made one. You have people on this side hating people on this side and not able to work together to build the 12 houses of the nation. And so I'm going to read on chapter 4. Now in the evening, Yeshua and his mother sat alone, and Yeshua said, "The rabbi seems to think that Allah is partial in his treatments of the sons of men, that Jews are favored and blessed above all other men. I do not see how Allah can have favorites and be just. For Allah is life, and it manifests through more European, ant, worm, jaguar, planet, star. It is not partial. It does not have favorites. The law does not judge a man based on his bloodline. You are not noble based on your bloodline, but based on your demonstration of the nobility that is expected from one of thine bloodline, one who has inherited such a vast estate. Islam, reading on. I do not see how Allah can have favorites and be just. Are not the Samaritans and the Greeks and Romans just as much the children of the Holy One as are the Jews, as are the Moors? And at present, though manifesting imperfectly the inmost principle, the actuating life principle, the soul, the heart principle, is pure Allah, top to bottom, hands down, no question about it. And it can be brought back into the highest perfection, but only with love. No sticks or stones or angry words has ever changed a man's heart. Only pure and righteous demonstration. And we're going to skip to chapter 7. Chapter 7 of the mysteries of the Silent Brotherhood of the East. Again, Elihu taught. He said, the Indian priests became corrupt. Brahm was forgotten in the streets. The rights of men were trampled in the dust. And then a mighty master came, a Buddha of enlightenment, who turned away from wealth and all honors of the world, and found the silence in the graves and caves, and he was blessed. He taught the gospel of a higher life, and taught men how to honor man. He had no doctrine of the gods to teach. He just knew man. And so his creed was justice, love, and righteousness. I quote to you a few of many of the helpful words which Buddha spoke. Hate is a cruel word. If man hates you, regard it not, and you can turn the hate of men to love and mercy and goodwill. Mercy is as large as all the heavens, and there is good enough for all. With good, destroy the bad. With generous deeds, make avarice ashamed. With truth, make straight the crooked lines that errors draw. For error is but truth distorted, gone astray. And pain will follow him who speaks or acts with evil thought, as does the wheel the foot of him who draws the cart. He is the greater man who conquers self than he who kills 1,000 men in war. He is the noble man who is himself what he believes that other men should be. Return to him who does you wrong your purest love, and he will cease from doing wrong. For love will purify the heart of him who is beloved, as truly as it purifies the heart of him who loves. Return to him who does you wrong your purest love, and he will cease from doing wrong. For love will purify the heart of him who is beloved, as truly as it purifies the heart of him who loves. The world is in the process of evolving into a state of high perfection. Individually and collectively, we are going through cycles of experience. spiraling upward into perfection, but we're also traveling a rough and rugged road on the journey to spirit life, established on earth for posterity, for the babies of all nationalities, of all nations. And so we must come together around right and exact principles and bring our light. But if it's too difficult for us to congregate at this point in the way that we want, if there aren't forums or a means, then we must ourselves become the center of effulgence, the center of light for the world. There's a quote from the master Nelson Mandela that I love. He said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be gorgeous, brilliant, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. You were born to let your light shine, and as you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others." And though the times are dark, and it feels as if the Kali Yuga will never end, and as if the entire cosmos is at low noon, it is at these times that we must be most daring in our demonstration of the divine. Because men need to see their divinity in the measure that you can perceive and vibrate in tune with your divinity without having to see it in flesh. That is the degree of faith that you have, and also the degree of power that you have. And so those who have this faith and have this power and are able to throw off the carnal self and be their higher self day to day, on and on, they become the way showers for the others. For men love to follow, not to lead. They need to see it manifested, which is why the masters and the chosen ones and the righteous ones come to show men a better way, to demonstrate the higher life, not to postulate and speculate, but to be that shining star, to be that example, that perfect example of perfect man, of the possibilities of man, right? You can't say it's not possible because Yeshua did it, Noble Drew Ali did it, John Bay did it. You know what I'm saying? So he is of my blood, or he is of my creed. He is of I, for I live in all that lives. That's the mindset of righteousness. In a world of temporary darkness or chaos, remembering that darkness is only the absence of light and chaos is only the absence of order, and God is the center of light, thus being the center of order, and that we ourselves are a spark of that light, and we can express that light or order in all of our daily affairs by tuning into that light, which is love, which is inside of our heart, which pumps day by day blood through all of our physical body and energy through all our physical body and energy out into the cosmos, infinite, infinite, infinite. if we can start pulsating positive energy, even though there may be no encouragement in our outer environment to do so, or no motivation to do so coming from within, if we can be that sacrificed lamb, oh man, oh man. It only takes 144,000 to change 7 billion mindsets and put the world back on a path of peace. And those 144,000 who are already born or will be born within the next 7 years, peace, peace, Islam, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Let there be light, unity, Islam.